welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic morning this morning and a great week so far. If it's not going that great, well, you know what? We're going to make it better. And if it's going great, then we're going to keep that thing rocking and rolling in the right direction. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the broadcast, we thank you so much for tuning in up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the world to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that and love the fact that we've had all different states listening to the broadcast as well as different countries. So thank you for your support. Thank you for making us a part of your day, a part of your week, a part of your month, and a part of your year. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, you are very much appreciated. With that being said, today is Thursday, which means it's the PJ Takeover. Papa Joe here with me this morning, and we are ready and raring to go to talk about a lot of different things that are happening in the sports world. Papa Joe inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. PJ and I are going to be speaking on the Major League Baseball Wild Card round, which is such a fast thing. It comes and it's gone. It's like who's in the playoffs, boom, they play the next day, and then a couple days later, some of those teams are already out of the postseason. So PJ and I are going to be discussing the world of Major League Baseball as far as the wild card goes. Then we're going to go big picture, and we'll look at the MLB postseason as a whole. And from there, we'll get into NCAA football. We'll talk about the FBS World Division 1A football. PJ and I will take a look back at college football week 5. I'll go over my picks. PJ and I, as you know, do our picks every single week together, but he was a little under the weather, so I did my picks last week. I'll run through those picks, let you know how I did, and then we'll jump into college football week 6, and PJ and I will make our picks. And then from there, we'll go into the NFL. I'll recap week 4 and the picks that I made. PJ and I will make week 5 picks for the NFL, and then we'll round out today's broadcast speaking on the Jaguars, who are currently 0-4 on the season, despite the fact that they had an opportunity against Houston to close it out, but they did not. So PJ and I are going to be talking about all of those things. And of course, once the shows go live, they hop into the archives, and you can find them on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. When you find us on your favorite podcasting platform, go ahead and click subscribe or follow. It is free, and you can watch and listen all around the world whenever you want. YouTube, you can watch and listen. All of these other podcasting outlets, you can plug right into your CarPlay, find us on these outlets, and play us through your car. And now it feels like we're right there in your neighborhood, in your local town, in your city. So I appreciate all these businesses for bringing us to your home, and I love the fact that y'all listen and watch. So with that being said, it is my honor and my privilege to welcome my better half, the man of the hours on Thursday, and that is PJ, Papa Joe, the Go-So, grand old smooth one, the king when it comes to the sports analysis, and he's here with us today. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Good morning, Daniel. Feeling a lot better. Thanks to everyone for checking on me. One good thing about being sick when you're contagious is you can't go anywhere. You can't see anyone. So I got my football. I had my football packages ready for me this last weekend, and of course baseball all this week. So at least when you're sick, I was doing something I enjoy doing, which is watching sports.
Yeah, and I know that obviously you've been working to get better and feel better and all of that. So I'm happy that, things are better in your world. So I'm happy that you're feeling more like yourself today and, getting right into it. I know, feeling like yourself, you love watching baseball, and I know it's a big part of your day. Mary got you that package years ago, and I know you continue to enjoy the baseball package. There have been 4 series that have been going on here in Major League Baseball when it comes to the wild card. On Tuesday, the postseason officially began on October 1st, the first day of my birth month, and the birthday of my buddy Ross Turetsky, who is a fantastic sportscaster and writer, and a baseball coach at Luzerne County Community College, as well as just an awesome alum of baseball. He played in college at Marywood, and a knowledgeable person in that world as well. And on his birthday, we got to see the series start. Some of those series are already over in just a couple days. So to paint the picture of what the wild card has been, in day number 1, we saw that 3 of 4 of the wild card series, 3 of the 4 series, had the road team win game 1. 3 of 4 of those series, 75% went to the road team, as we saw in the first day on Tuesday, October 1st. We saw the Royals defeat the Orioles on the road. We saw the Tigers defeat the Astros on the road, both in the AL. And in the National League, we saw the Mets defeat the Brewers on the road. The Mets just faced the Brewers in the regular season in a series in Milwaukee where they lost the series 1-2. In this one, they won the first game. The only team that was a home team to win the first game of the wild card series was San Diego, who defeated Atlanta out in California on Tuesday, October 1st. Well, after day 1, 3 of 4 of those series are now over. So in day 1, road team wins 3 out of 4 times. In day 2 of the wild card, the Royals, the road team, have knocked out the Baltimore Orioles and continue to stay hot. A team that was left for dead, the Detroit Tigers, knocked out the trash can connoisseurs, the Houston Astros. And the San Diego Padres held on to knock out the Atlanta Braves, with San Diego being at home. So 2 of those 3 road teams that won game 1 took game 2 and ended their series. Royals moving on to face the Yankees. Tigers moving on to face the Guardians in the American League. And in the National League, the Padres have a rematch with the number 1 seeded Los Angeles Dodgers. The only series to go to a game 3 is the New York Mets and Milwaukee Brewers. The Mets on the road in Milwaukee will face off against the Brewers in a game 3. The Mets took game 1. They looked like they were on pace to take game 2. And the Brewers came back in that matchup, which places us in a day 3 situation, winner take all. And in this day that we have here, whoever wins here on Thursday, October 3rd, between the Mets and the Brewers in Milwaukee, the game starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Jose Quintana versus Tobias Myers. The winner will move on to the National League Divisional Series and will face off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Papa Joe, the stage is set, the table's made, the road team had day 1, and 3 series are already done after day 2, with the Mets and the Brewers giving us baseball today, and it's only them to see who moves on. Bring us into the wild card through your eyes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to recap the games and tell you how I see them and what's going forward. The first game, Detroit and Houston, saw 2 incomparable pitchers. Framber Valdez of Houston against probably the Cy Young Award winner in the American League is Tarek Skubal. Valdez comes in 15-7 with a 2.91 ERA. Skubal comes in 18-4 with a 2.39 RAA. You figured that this is going to be a pitcher's match, and just is exactly what it was. Detroit squeaks away 3-1. Houston had the bases loaded in the 9th inning and couldn't score any runs. So, what do I always tell you about baseball, Daniel? You win with pitching and defense, and this is what happens here. In the second game, we had Hunter Brown of Houston, which is 11-9 with a 3.49 ERA, going against Tyler Holton, who was a sentiment reliever, 7-2 with a 2.19 ERA. I think Detroit probably had the right idea. They wanted to go pitch by committee, and that's what they did. They win the game 5-2, but the thing is really surprised me was they brought in Josh Hader, who is absolutely fearsome left-handed reliever and has been for several years. He's signed a multi-million-dollar contract with Houston this last year. And he comes in with the score tied 2-2, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a little early to bring in Hader. I don't think they need to do that. I think they need to keep trying to throw their other relievers and bring him in if they ever get a lead. Well, that didn't work because Hader didn't have his stuff. They wind up getting 3 runs off him in the top of the ninth, which is incredible. So Detroit wins 5-2, and again, it's pitching and pitching and pitching. Let's go to Kansas City and Baltimore, which is a great series. Cole Reagans, 11-9, 3.14 ERA for Kansas City, faced off against Corbin Burns, a recluse from Milwaukee. I wish he'd never left Milwaukee. He's 15-9 with a 2.92 ERA. This game was a pitcher's duel from the get-go. Reagans did all he could. I think he got in 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, no runs, struck out 8. Burns was just as great. Pitched 8 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, struck out 3. Kansas City squeaks the win out 1-0. Burns certainly didn't need to lose that game, and neither did Baltimore. And Baltimore looked like they were maybe the second best team in the American League behind the Yankees. And right now they're behind the 8 ball. So we go to the second game, which was last night. And Seth Lugo, one of my favorite pitchers, was 16-9, starts the game with Kansas City with a 3.00 ERA. Zach Elfin, who Baltimore got as a trade, he's 10-9 and 3.59 ERA. Both guys had their stuff. Lugo was tougher. Pitched plus 5 innings, I think, struck out 6 or something like that. Elfin didn't have his good stuff, but it doesn't matter. Both of these guys are so good that they can nibble around the plate and get batters to swing at pitches outside the strike zone. I think Baltimore wound up using 7 relievers in that game. They lost it 2-1. The incomparable Bobby Witt Jr., you've heard me talk about him for 2 years now. He's a generational talent. I know I use that term quite a few times, but in this case he is. He's the son of a former major leaguer, Bobby Witt, who was a pitcher for many years. Witt, 6'3", 215, hits the ball with power. It runs. He's the fastest man from home plate to first base, timed, that is, the fastest man. He's in shortstop, he's a vacuum cleaner. Nothing gets by him. He's won both games with RBIs. And Baltimore, I don't know what happened to Baltimore. They wound up leaving 12 men on base. And you can't do that against a good team with good pitching. Again, pitching and defense wins this game, and that's what it was. KC 1-0 over KC again, 2-1 a second game. So whatever Baltimore did, they're going to have to try to fix it over the winter. They just couldn't hit. I mean, they have a sensational lineup. Their shortstop is another generational talent, Gunnar Henderson. And those guys were picking the ball so clean and making plays and make it look so easy that it's a pleasure to watch. It's a pleasure to watch. So we got the American League out of the way now. We got Detroit's going to go to Cleveland, and KC's going to go visit New York. Not Baltimore people, but KC's going to visit New York. KC's got everything to play for. The Yankees are supposed to be the best team in the league. Let's see what they got. KC's going to face Corbin, the main man, Garrett Cole, in the first game. We'll see what they got. Let's go to the National League. We got New York Mets, Milwaukee. The first game won by the Mets 8-4. This game was not and neither the second game. Neither one was a pitching duel, certainly. Peralta from Milwaukee was 11-9, 3.69 ERA. Started the game, pitched well. 4 innings, 2 hits, 3 runs, and nothing to blow the skirt up. Luis Severino, who used to be with the Yankees, started 11-7 with the Mets, 3.91 ERA. Pitched decent, 6 innings, 4 runs, 8 hits. 4 runs you give up, you're supposed to lose, but New York held on 8-4 and just bashed the hell out of the ball. Like to see him hit like that. They're very young. They're very aggressive. Francisco Lindor, probably the best shortstop in the National League. Just was sensational also. In the second game, Sean Mania, 12-6, 3.47 ERA, started for the Mets. Frankie Montes, 7-11, 4.84 ERA for Milwaukee. Neither of these guys didn't have their stuff either. There's a player that we need to talk about, and another generational player, Jackson Chourio for Milwaukee. Don't know how they got this guy, but he's 20 years old and plays like he's 30. He hit 2 yard twice last night. Doesn't play like he's a 20-year-old. He's a wonderful player. Good hitter, excellent runner. Milwaukee held on to win 5-4. So we got the matchup tonight, which you stated earlier. Jose Quintana, 10-10, 3.75 ERA, going against Tobias Myers, 9-6, 3.00 ERA. That's a Milwaukee guy, and it looks like with him on the mound and Milwaukee playing at home, that I think Milwaukee's probably got the edge here.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of this series is Atlanta and San Diego. The first game had Michael King at 13-9, 2.95 ERA versus a slew of relievers for Atlanta. That's the way these new managers are playing these days. No one can go 6 or 7 innings anymore. They got to go 1.2 innings here, 0.2 innings here, 1 inning here. It's miserable. San Diego, anyway, shut him out. King was great. I think he only gave up 4 hits and struck out 8. He was just unhittable. San Diego wins easily 4-0, which puts Atlanta under the gun again. The second game, which we watched last night, which was great to watch. Joe Musgrove started for San Diego, 6-5, 3.88 ERA against Max Fried, one of the better pitchers in the National League, 11-10 with a 3.25 ERA. Fried's a nasty left-hander, comes over the top and from the side. Very difficult to pick up when you're a left-handed hitter. This game was well played. The only problem I had with it, not really a problem, this is something I saw. When I was watching Musgrave earlier, Musgrave likes to throw a lot of off-speed stuffs. He throws a lot of change-ups. He has a wicked 12-6 curveball, and a really, really wicked. And his ball was breaking so much, I turned to Mary and I says, I don't know how long Musgrave is going to last. The way he's throwing these curveballs like this, he's not going to have an elbow left.
Yeah.
Well, the next inning, he's pitching, and his catcher saw something and went out to talk to him on the mound. All of a sudden, everyone comes and talks. Here comes the manager. Here comes the trainer. Well, Musgrave hurt his elbow. Of course he hurt his elbow. He's throwing too many curveballs. So he's out. And but they anyway. They hung on to win 5-4. Fried didn't look like himself. Tatis 1 yard. This was a well-played game. Sorry to hear about that Musgrove. I'm not sure he's going to be ready for L.A. But at least they're going right up the thruway. They don't have to fly across the world 20 times to get to a team. So I'm looking for Cleveland and Detroit. Looking at KC and New York. Maybe New York, Milwaukee versus Philly.
Yeah.
And San Diego versus LA. Like it. Now when we're talking about pitching, Detroit's got to play Cleveland. Well, we've seen what Detroit can do. Screwball, you live and die with screwball. Except in this series, there's a 5-game series and not a 3-game series. So who do they face? Well, the Guardians have a Taylor Beebe with 11-8, 3.56 ERA Brent Lively, 13-9, 3.80 ERA. The incomparable, unhittable Emmanuel Clace, 4-2 with a .63 ERA. He's their closer, and if they're anywhere close, they bring him in and shut the door. Guardians are led by Jose Ramirez, one of the guys who just gets passed over every year for the most valuable player because he's in the league with Judge. He's hitting 247, 37 homers, 112 RBIs. You live and die with Ramirez. Stephen Kwan, we saw him hit really good early in the year. He's hitting over 300, wound up 291, 13 homers, 43 RBIs. Josh Naylor, who sits behind everyone, hitting 240 with 31 homers, 105 RBIs. Guardians can score, and they can pitch. So we'll see what happens there. Now we got KC. KC, I don't know who they're going to face. But
Yankees.
let me see.
The Yankees.
Yeah, I know that, but let me see. I think they're going to. I think they'll probably face Cole to start with, and that scares everyone right there. And then from there they'll go. But the Yankees win by hitting. They're led by Judge. They're led by Soto. They're led by Volpe. These guys can score a lot of runs, and I wouldn't be surprised that the manager sees, at least for KC, if he sees Judge come up with anything on base or even a base open, and they don't want to pitch, they'll welcome in 4 pitches. And what it used to be is that the pitcher had to throw 4 balls outside the strike zone. The catcher stands up, throws the ball back 4 times. That's how the ball. At least now they're using her head, and the manager says weighs out 4 fingers, and the guy goes to first base, and that's it. You don't have to worry about her anymore.
Yeah.
Going back to the previous series here with KC and Baltimore and everyone else, Detroit, one thing I noticed again, which is it's awful. It really gripes my butt every time. And there's so many timeouts. They don't have the pitch clock down. They don't care about the pitch count. They don't care if the batter gets out of the batter's back, fixes his glove 50 times, gets back in and tries to hit. The games in playoffs are 30 minutes longer than they have to be. As I stated before, I think Baltimore used 7 pitchers. That takes, 5 minutes for each pitcher to come out, warm up, talk to the catcher, know what they're going to do, and throw. It's boring. And that's why so many people just don't watch baseball anymore. They do in this particular case because it's the playoffs. But when it's just long and drawn out like this, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Well, let's hope that New York and Milwaukee put on a good show tonight. I think that Montana, Quintana, and Myers will probably put on a good show. There is a player that need to talk about again. I think it's Jackson Churio, 20 years old, hit 2 home runs last night. Again, guy, he doesn't know how good he's going to be. He's so good. So I'm anxious for it. The only problem is it's going to be at 7 o'clock at night. Papa J usually goes to bed around 9 or 8:30 or so. So I'm going to have to stay up. I'm waiting.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are a lot of things to unpack, a lot of things to get into. And when we look at these series and like you said, and going through them and breaking it down by pitching and by hitting and what happened in the game, which I appreciate, and helping to make those games come to life here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, speaking with Papa Joe. Now we have this Game 3. Who will be the victor in the Milwaukee Brewers versus New York Mets NL Wild Card Series winner-take-all Game 3? I'm putting the poll up right now, and I'm going to let y'all vote in it this morning because I definitely want to get your thoughts. And the polls that we've already put up here, I do want to make note of the ones that have finished up. And so this poll is going to be, so it's about, it's almost 10 o'clock. So let's say 10, 11, 11 to 12. So I'm going to put this for a 9-hour poll, which will bring us right to game time here so you can vote in it. So who's going to win the winner-take-all game between the Mets and the Brewers tonight, Game 3 in Milwaukee, which starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time? Who will win the winner-take-all Game 3? You can vote in that this morning on X, the former Twitter, at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Well, the fans voted on every series. Who will win the Houston Astros Detroit Tigers AL Wild Card Series? The fans were right. 61.9% said Tigers. 38.1% said Astros. In the Royals-Orioles series, and who would win that, 83.3% of voters picked Baltimore. 16.7% picked Kansas City. So the minority was right in that one. Who will win between the Padres and the Braves? A closer poll had 58.3% picking the Padres and 41.7% picking the Braves. The majority was right. And in the original poll at the start of the series, between the Mets and the Brewers, who will win? An even closer poll had 56.3% choosing the Brewers, 43.8% choosing the Mets. So the majority's been right 2 out of 3 times so far. And now I want to know, are you still sticking with Milwaukee? To those of you that can vote on X, find us on X, the former Twitter, at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Click follow and vote in our poll this morning and throughout the day. Who will be the victor in the Milwaukee Brewers, New York Mets, NL Wild Card, winner take all, Game 3? Early voting, and I just put it up. Early voting is 100% Brewers. So let me know what y'all think. PJ, can the Mets do it? Can the Mets find a way to win this series? Knowing that they most recently, a few days ago, not a week ago, not 10 days ago, not 3 months ago, but the Mets very, very recently just went to Milwaukee. And when they went to Milwaukee, the last game that they played in Milwaukee was, I'm looking at it here right now, was on September 29th. We're here on October 3rd. So just a few days back, the Mets were in Milwaukee. They faced Milwaukee. They lost 2 games by a score of 8-4, ironically, because they just beat them 8-4. So in game 1 of their 3-game series in the regular season, they lost 8-4, lost 6-0, won 5-0. And then they play them in the first game of the wild card series, beat them 8-4, taking that same score from a few days ago in game 1 of a series and beating them by that exact score, then losing 5-3. Then they have their game tonight. So being in Milwaukee just a few days back, they did not come out with a series win, losing 1-2 in that 3-game series. Now they're in a 3-game series, and it's 1-1. Do the Mets mirror what they did at the end of the regular season and lose the series 1-2? Or do the Mets flip the script tonight and defeat Milwaukee in Milwaukee, something they did not do this week earlier on?
Well, that's a good question. Unfortunately, based on what I said a little while ago, there's going to be a pitching by committee. And the Mets don't have the kind of pitching staff that they can do that. Severino was their lead man, and we saw him pitch, and so did Mania last night. Quintana pitches tonight. Where the Mets are going to win is they hit. And they hit, and they hit, and they hit. Francisco Lindor, 271, 37 homers, 86 RBIs. Pete Alonso, 242, 34 homers, 88 RBIs. And Brandon Nimmo is 226, 22 homers, 87 RBIs. Jeff McNeil, 238, 12 homers, 44 RBIs. J.D. Martinez, 234, 16 homers, 69 RBIs. They just hit. I don't think there's any way to slow them down. Based on that, I just don't know if Milwaukee has enough to keep them off the bases. And with that being said, I just don't think that they have anything left. I mean, they have Rhea, who's 12-5 with a 4.24 ERA. Aaron Savali, 7-9, 4.53. These guys, they don't pitch that well. But what Milwaukee does have is after they lost Josh Hader to the Astros, they came up with Devin Williams, who was the setup man for Josh Hader for years in Milwaukee. Well, he's 1-0 with a 1.37 ERA. He's their closer. So if they get it close, they'll bring him in. Williams is not the kind of guy that can throw 2 innings. I mean, he'll go 1 inning strong. If he doesn't throw a lot of pitches, maybe come out and face a hitter in the bottom half of whatever inning they are in, and maybe 1 or 2 hitters. But he's not the kind of guy that's going to go 2 innings and shut the door. So it's going to be a good game. I think the Mets have proven that they're no slouch, and they're ready to go. I think the Mets and Atlanta series was just a ball to watch. As I said before, when you're sick and you can't do anything, and you can't go anywhere and you can't meet anyone, you sit and watch television. So I watch football, I watch college football and pro football, and I watch every game, even last night till the very end. So I'm baseballed out, but not that bad. So I'm ready to go. So let's go Mets, let's go Brewers.
Yeah, and in this game, and Joey, my big brother, and meatball number 1 to my meatball number 2 here, he is watching. He said he's got the Mets in this tonight. And PJ, you speak on staying up. And over the weekend, when we had the game of the week, Georgia and Alabama, that game that we had was insane in the first quarter on the Tide side. 21-0 Alabama in Kalen DeBoer's first season as their head coach, coming over from the Washington Huskies. Kirby Smart was shut out in that first quarter, in that first 15 minutes. It didn't look great, but if I know anything about SEC games, you can never count a team out. And they played all the way back into the game, and there were some crazy, awesome plays, catches, breaking out of tackles. And I get a text message past midnight from Papa Joe, who told you he normally goes to bed a little bit early. On Saturday night into Sunday morning, I get a text message from PJ past midnight, watching feetball, and he goes, "What a game." He's like, "Did you see that game? Hell of a game," I think is what he wrote. And I remember sitting there going, what is this man doing up right now? So, PJ, we're going to get into it, but we're getting into football a little bit. I still got some more baseball to go. But shout out to you, because you have been trooping through, staying up, doing your thing. And that was one of my favorite messages in a long time, is that I'm always up past midnight, and looking at Papa Joe's message and seeing that you stayed up all the way through and you wanted to let me know that night that you had watched the game.
That's exactly what I did, didn't I? Well, I usually go home at halftime, and I was thinking about it, and I looking at Mary, and I said, "Mary, this is going to be a blowout." And the more I thought about it, I'm looking at Kirby Smart on the sideline, and I'm thinking, well, right now you got the best the football coach in America, period. Now that Saban is gone. And I'm looking at him, and he's twisting and turning. He's got his hat sideways, and he's talking. He's doing this. And I'm thinking, his quarterback hasn't played well. Neither is his offensive line. Defensive line couldn't stop anything.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking to myself, he's got something up his sleeve. Well, he did. Carson Beck is his name. And this guy, to me, is the best thrower in college football. He's not a Jalen Milroe, none of these other Shitter, Samuel, or whatever the hell his name is in Colorado. This guy's a quarterback. He sits in the pocket and throws. And he was winging it. And I'm thinking, this can't be. And I'm yelling out loud. I says, I can't effing believe this. I'm yelling that out. And Mary's going, what's going on out there? I said, don't worry about them. I said, I'm good. And they came back, and they actually went ahead. And then we saw a play by probably one of the most exciting freshman football players I've ever seen make a play and score the game for it. It was great football. I mean, we always talk, at least I do, I always talk about the SEC because they're the best conference in football, period. And I'm not sure that Nick Saban was very happy watching his team getting pounded in the second half like that. What happened to the defense in the first half? But it was well worth watching, and it was two extraordinary teams. And neither one of these teams are going away. If Alabama trips up one time this year, they're still going to make the playoffs, and so is Georgia. So, where are you going with that? You're going to see them later on, folks.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later on here on the show. One of the things I wanted to get to in the world of baseball here with Papa Joe on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, is the Kansas City Royals. Last season, there's a couple things I want to get to. So let me hit this first before I hit Kansas City. I was talking to Murph on Monday when we do DT and Murphy to start off your week on Wake Up Call. Brendan's a big-time baseball fan as well. Played baseball at Marywood, and he's a diehard Mets fan. Him and I were speaking, and I said to him, the Rangers aren't making the postseason, and it was Monday, so the Diamondbacks still could make it. I said, if the Diamondbacks don't make it, when was the last time that the two teams that played in a World Series did not even qualify for the playoff the next year? And we went back historically and found that in 2005, 2006, in 2005, the Chicago White Sox played the Houston Astros in the World Series. Chicago won that World Series, I believe, 4-0. In 2006, neither team made the playoffs. So the last time that both teams that played in a World Series did not make the playoffs the following year was almost 20 years ago. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that, PJ. And secondly, I'd love to get your thoughts on Kansas City, who conversely was the keeper of the second worst record in baseball in 2023. The only team that was worse, the Oakland A's, 50-112. The Kansas City Royals, 56-106 was their record. Last place in the American League Central Division. They go from second worst record out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball, worst in their division, 56 wins and 106 losses, to this season in 2024, finishing the regular season with a record of 86-76, winning 30 more games than they won last year in the regular season, making the postseason, and sweeping the higher-seeded Baltimore Orioles. So I'd love to get your thoughts on, historically, neither team that played in the World Series last year is even in the postseason this year with Texas and Arizona. And then secondly, how did Kansas City go from the second worst team in the country to a team that it has now advanced to the divisional series?
Well, the answer to your first question, ownership and general managers and whatever, they don't have a lot of patience this year. They think everything's done by Moneyball. They do this, do that, and you got to put players in here, buy a player here. Well, a lot of these teams don't do that anymore. And if you're losing 2 or 3 seasons in a row, your manager's going to be out on his ass. So what Kansas City did is they changed the culture in the clubhouse. They changed their staff, and they brought in some players. They brought some players up. And led by the incomparable Bobby Witt Jr., they started playing good ball. Now, the reason you can do that is because that you have a pitching staff that's better than it was the year before. We talked about Seth Lugo. You heard me talk about him all year long. Usually, most of the year, at least before the All-Star break, he was leading the American League with 1-loss record and ERA. He got hit a little bit after the All-Star game, but he's still a good pitcher. Cole Ragans, we saw him pitch the first game. Tonight, first game of the series against the Yankees, you're going to see Michael Wacha. He's been around for years, different players. He's 13-8 with a 3.28 ERA. Brady Singer, go Gators, 9-12 with a 3.73 ERA. those guys can keep a team close. And when you on the other side of the ball, you got Sal Perez, who has always been a great major league catcher, 271, 27 homers, 103 RBIs. Vinny Quescantino, a good Italian boy from New Jersey, at 262, 19 homers, 97 RBIs. Hunter Renfroe, 230, 13 homers, 50 RBIs. You get my gist right there. Kansas City can hit, they can score, they can run, and they're the left side of their infield, the shortstop, the third base side, nothing's going to get by. If Witt can get to the ball, he's going to throw you out. So I'm looking at that, and certainly didn't have all these pieces last year except for Witt. And sometimes when you change the culture of the clubhouse, it does something to you. You bring in a guy who's a little bit more fatherly, who understands the game, can relate to these young kids a little bit better. And sometimes you don't, and sometimes it doesn't work. You know, one of my favorite managers of all time is Buck Showalter. He won the World Series 3 times with 3 different managers, with 3 different teams. But he was an abrasive kind of guy. He was a pushy kind of guy. Not so with some of these newer ones. Some of the older ones that we see coming in to the league, or at least get a chance to manage after being in the league for so long, they just have a fatherly way of doing it. I think Kansas City has that, and they know how to score runs, and they know how to pitch. If you can't pitch and play defense, Daniel, you're not going to win. You're going to hear that probably 20 more times before the World Series is over.
Well, you know, and like you said, pitching and defense, which I agree with. When you look at the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, the Rangers had a sniff of it early on when Seattle and Houston were fighting for the American League West, but ultimately nothing came to be for the Texas Rangers, and they fell out of that race. In the case of the Diamondbacks, it came all the way down to Monday. Playoffs start Tuesday. On Monday, if the Braves and the Mets, if one of them swept the other, the Diamondbacks would have had the 6th seed against the Brewers, and the other team would have gone on to play the Padres. But if they split the series, which they did, then the Diamondbacks would be out, and both of those teams, the Mets and the Braves, would be in, and the Braves have the tiebreaker over the Mets, and having that tiebreaker over the Mets put them in a situation where they're going to get the higher seed, which they ended up getting. They got the 5th seed, and the Mets got the 6th seed. So Arizona came down to the final day. The Texas Rangers were done before that. Are you surprised that the World Series champion and World Series runner-up neither made the postseason?
No, I think that most teams are pretty equitable this year, especially this time of year when you have a lot of injuries and you have a lot of maybe players that are coming up, getting a cup of coffee with a major league team and going back down to the minors. It's different. Every year is different, and every occasion is different. Every game is played different. Every series is different. You know, I looked at Arizona, and I had them on my list. I had Arizona for 3 months not winning, but being in the playoffs. 3 months I had them on there, and they disappointed. Why is that? Well, I always say pitching defense. Their ERA as a team was over 4. You can't win like that. Zach Gallen's their only player, their only pitcher, and he was 14-6 with a 3.65 ERA. Everyone else is way over 4, including probably the biggest bust of this postseason, quasi-postseason, Jordan Montgomery, 8-7 with a 6.23 ERA. He signed for, $25 million a year for 3 years or something like that. You can't win that way. Now, sure, on the other side of the ball, they got Martel, they got Suarez, they got Carroll, they got Gurriel, all these guys, they hit well, especially Suarez. And Marte, 35 homers, 93 RBIs. They could hit, but they couldn't stop the other team. I'm looking for Arizona probably to make some wholesale changes again with their pitching staff. I think that probably Spat will still be there. Merton will probably still be there. Montgomery, I'm not sure. They'll probably release him after 1 year. Let someone else worry about him. I always looked. I had Arizona straight for 3 months making the playoffs. And the more that Atlanta and New York played, they got better, and or Arizona was not getting better. They weren't winning their series. Atlanta and New York were winning the series. So you mix all this around and you say, well, New York's got a 65% win it. Arizona's down to 52%, and so on and so on and so on. Every day I watch that. And I realized that Arizona can't win this by themselves. They need help. Yeah. And they didn't get help. But they'll get help next year.
Yeah, and looking at, you brought up Jordan Montgomery, who went up against the Diamondbacks, and I'm pretty confident that when my dad and I went to the World Series in Arizona to Game 3, Jordan Montgomery had a good game against the Diamondbacks in that game. In this season, he played in 25 games. Speaking of Jordan Montgomery, he started 21. His win-loss record was 8-7. He had one save this season, so he did have a winning record of 8-7, barely over it there. And like you said, his ERA being so high, his ERA was 6.23. The only one that was higher than him on the team was Slade Ciccone. And, looking at a 6.23 ERA is abysmal. Now, he's in a situation where he can opt out of 2025 if he had 10 starts in 2024. And I just told you he had 21. So he can opt out. I'm sure the Diamondbacks are maybe hoping he opts out. But he cost the team $25 million this year. And next season he would cost the team, depending on, looking at this right now, it says the option is $20 million with 10 starts, 22.5 with 18, 25 with 23 starts. So he's going to cost the team $22.5 million because he's had at least 18 starts. And that's the situation that the Diamondbacks are in. Now, I've jokingly said this, but in a non-joking way, I'm like, maybe. I'm like, okay, he was a pitcher for the Texas Rangers, and he played well against the Diamondbacks and was a piece of the reason why the Diamondbacks didn't win the World Series. Then he comes to the Diamondbacks and has an atrocious ERA. So, PJ, I ask you this question. Is Jordan Montgomery a sleeper cell for the Texas Rangers?
That's a good question. No, Jordan Montgomery he's a starter. He's a good pitcher and has been. This is just an anomaly. This is freakish right here. But one thing that I do have to tell you is that I read a quote yesterday from the general manager and the player development person that runs Arizona. He says, if you're looking for an escape guy to blame for Jordan Montgomery, blame me. Because I'm the one that pushed him. I'm the one that signed him. So all you KC guys, don't blame the manager. Don't blame anyone else. Blame me. I'm taking it. So he's taking it on the cup, which is telling me they want to release him. So let him release him and go find someplace else to pay. You'll find Jordan Montgomery bounce back somewhere else. I have no problem with that at all. But it was funny that the general manager actually admitted to making one of the worst deals he's ever made in his life.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Arizona's pitching in general. Merrill Kelly, who was their number 2 guy in the playoffs last year, Merrill went 5-1 this season. He started in 13 games. He only played in 13 games. And that, to me, is a big hitter. Merrill Kelly was huge. Merrill Kelly, arguably, was a better pitcher late in the postseason last season in the run to the World Series for the Diamondbacks. He was a better pitcher than Zach Gallen, their ace. So Merrill Kelly only playing this season in 13 games. Brandon Pfaadt is only in his second season as a major leaguer. He played in 32 games. Ryan Nelson, who we didn't really see last year, he played in 28. Zach Gallen played in 28. Jordan Montgomery played in 25. Slade played in 20. And then Merrill Kelly only played in 13 games. As their number 2 guy in the postseason last season, we only saw him in 13 games this year. And to me, that in and of itself could be the difference. Because Zach Gallen, then Merrill Kelly, then Brandon Pfaadt, they needed someone for that fourth game. And they went and got Jordan Montgomery. And they made some other moves. Brought in Eduardo Rodriguez. He only played in 10 games this year. But they needed a game 4. And with Merrill Kelly not playing in many games this season, you rely more on Jordan Montgomery. You rely more on Slade. You rely more on Nelson. But Merrill Kelly, to me, did so many great things last year that I look at him right now and I say to myself, is this the sore thumb? Is this the thing that prevented them from making the postseason? Is only having Merrill for 13 games? Is that something that we can lean on, PJ? Do you think that that is the nail that we're looking for? That's the needle in a haystack, so to speak? Is it the fact that we didn't have Merrill Kelly for more than 13 games? We didn't see him as a major guy in the rotation. Is that the issue? Because he was so valuable in the postseason last year and they made it to the World Series, are we looking at an Arizona Diamondbacks team that ended one game under 90 wins? Are we seeing that this issue, if you say it comes down to pitching and defense, is Arizona not in the postseason because Merrill Kelly was not in his normal spot?
No, well, there's two answers to that question. Kelly got hurt.
Yeah,
and he wasn't going to pitch. So one thing that managers do and the trainers and everything like that, they err on the side of caution. Just like you saw with Musgrave last night. Musgrave probably could have got another couple of innings, but maybe he would have gotten bombed too. So they err on the side of caution. You pull a guy out and say, you're done for the year. Forget about it. Get your pay. Come in the clubhouse. Work with the guys. Do that and do that. Now the second part of that question answer is that Arizona did not have a closer to speak about. Sewald was their closer with a 4.31 ERA. Now, Dan, you're not going to win any games. You're not going to save any games with an ERA like that.
Yeah.
When you talk about a closer, you hear me talk about Emmanuel Clace from Cleveland. Under one run, almost under a half a run a game for 9 innings. Unhittable. Sewald was not the answer either. So what you have Kelly and you have Nelson, you have Gallen and Pfaadt and Rodriguez and Montgomery. All of these guys we talked about are decent pitchers, except for Gallen is extraordinary, and the rest of the guys are going to have to pick it up. So whatever they're going to do off season, they better figure it out.
Yeah. And Merrill missing time this season with a shoulder strain as well as hamstring cramping. And looking at last season to this season, I feel like if he was healthy, if he was out there, if he was in their normal rotation, if he was a guy that they can lean on late in the season, I just feel like it would have been a different season for Arizona. And keep in mind, they ended with a winning record. The Texas Rangers, who won the World Series last year, ended with a losing record, 78 and 84. The Diamondbacks had 89 wins this season, one short of 90. So I just feel like Merrill Kelly, healthy Merrill Kelly, could have been the difference. And you brought up Sewald, and, he did a pretty good job, obviously, in the postseason. But you brought it up over and over and over again. ERA, all throughout the season. ERA, this guy's got 4. The team's got over 4. The team's got this, team's got that. You talked about the Diamondbacks. You talked about other teams. And that's reality. If you have an ERA that's over 3, and we're talking about 4 as a team, we're talking about guys with 6, 5, that's not a good thing. And when it comes down to pitching and defense, it ended up biting Arizona in the butt. Some things you can't control, like Merrill Kelly's injury. You can't control the fact that Jordan Montgomery was really good against you, so you thought, okay, if he's good against us, now let's have him before us, and he just didn't work out. Now they have a decision to make because Ryan Nelson has found his way into the lineup. Brandon Pfaadt has stayed in the lineup. Zach Gallen is their ace. Merrill Kelly healthy. Where do you put him? Where do you put Jordan Montgomery? What do you do with Rodriguez, who you brought in? How do you work all of this out as you move forward? There's a lot of talent on Arizona, and they went through injuries all throughout the season. Catcher Gabriel Moreno, he was out. We know that Perdomo went out. There was different guys at different times that weren't able to be there with the team. And Moreno is a massive part of this team. So, Arizona, 89 wins despite everything that happened, and coming down to the last day despite everything that happened, I give them some kudos. I also look at the fact that they lost games in series against teams that were awful. They didn't take care of San Francisco. They won 1 of 3 games in their series against San Fran before their final series of the season against San Diego. If they had taken care of San Francisco, they would have been in a better place when the Mets and the Braves were playing each other. So, you got to take care of business. Injuries are something you can't control. I hope the best as they move forward. PJ, let's take a look at this. Now, I came out with my postseason bracket and my predictions before any game was played. So that bracket stands. Those were my predictions. That's what I had. But we also, at the same time, look at, okay, some of my predictions were right, some were wrong. We still got to pick these series as they stand. So I'm going to ask you, PJ, to pick yours. And then I'm going to pick mine before we take a step aside. This is how the playoff bracket looks, ladies, gentlemen, and children. The Tigers and the Guardians will play in the ALDS. And the Guardians, obviously the higher seed, will start at home. The Royals will take on the Yankees and the Bronx to start the series. On the other side, the Padres and the Dodgers will continue their divisional back and forth. And it'll start in LA. And the Phillies are playing the Brewers or the Mets. When the schedule happens here, folks, these games will start on Saturday in the divisional round. We know that the Mets are playing up against Milwaukee tonight. And then on Saturday, we will see the DS start for both the AL and the NL. Detroit at Cleveland at 1:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Whoever wins between the Mets and the Brewers at Philadelphia at 4:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Kansas City at the Yankees at 6:38 p.m. Eastern Time. And San Diego at Los Angeles Dodgers at 8:38 p.m. Eastern Time. So, PJ, I want you to pick the winner of these series. Detroit versus Cleveland. Whoever's going to win, Mets, Brewers versus Phillies. Kansas City, Yankees. And Padres, Dodgers.
Well, you've heard me talk about the Guardians earlier, about their hitting and their pitching and everything. I'm looking for, first I have pages and pages of notes, Daniels, of course. Detroit and Cleveland. I'm going to have to say that after the All-Star break, Detroit played the best ball of anyone in Major Leagues. I think there was something like 31-10. They just kept creeping up, not only into their division, but they put a stranglehold on the wild card. And they, obviously, they won the first 2 games, and they're still playing well. So I wouldn't put anything past them. Cleveland's going to be at home, but Detroit's not that far away, so guys are going to be down there drinking beer and watching games and things like that. I'm going to have to say Cleveland is rested. Their pitching is rested. If BB throws a good game, to start with, probably Cleveland will have an advantage there. But I just like the way Detroit's playing. I thought they played great after the All-Star game, and they proved it by beating Houston. And I like Cleveland here.
Okay.
Now Kansas City and New York. Now that's a different story. We saw Kansas City. We saw their pitching. We saw Lugo. We saw Ragans, and we're going to see Milwaukee tonight, or the first game, I think. But where the Yankees excel, the Yankees excel in two areas. Their pitching, which I didn't think would hold up this year, did hold up. Garrett Cole, 7-5, 3.67 ERA. Now he's last year's Cy Young Award winner. He got hurt beginning of the year, started coming on, pitching a lot better. He's got a lot of rest. I wouldn't be surprised if he dominates. Nasty Nestor Cortez, one of my favorite players. 9-10 with a 3.17 ERA. He got hurt. He's on a disabled list. I don't know if he's going to be able to throw or not. Carlos Rodon, 16-9, 3.98 ERA. A good, solid number 3. And number 4 pitcher, Lewis Gill, who was 15-6 at a 3.27 ERA, a rookie. He's my favorite for American League Rookie of the Year. And then you got Weavers closes them out at 6-3, 2.93 ERA. If you can get by Judge, Soto, Torres, Volpe, Mike Stanton, all these guys, you can beat the Yankees. But it looks like on paper now, the Yankees look like they have an advantage because they're rested, and these pitchers are ready to go, except for Cortez. Cortez is a major factor here. If he's not going to pitch, then the Yankees have got to scramble somewhere else. Now, you said the other series, the Mets and Milwaukee against Philly, we don't know that yet. San Diego and Los Angeles, well, if you've been following baseball, you know an awful lot about the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're led by, again, a generational talent. I hate to keep using that term, but he is Ohtani. 301, 53 homers, 123 RBIs. He stole 57 bases. Who knows what this guy could do? And he's only 29 years old, and he's frightening to watch. He's so big and strong that I think he can actually carry this series. If Betts is having a problem at the plate, and Freddie Freeman, Hernandez, Will Smith are catching, if these guys are having a problem at the plate, he can actually carry them. But the Dodgers have a decent pitching staff. I don't know if Kershaw is going to pitch again. I don't know if he'll ever pitch again. But I don't look for him in this series. Jack Flattery is going to start. He's 13-7 with 3.10 ERA. Yamamoto, the Japanese import, 6-2, 2.96 ERA. He got hurt. He came back, started pitching a lot better. He's going to be stronger. You got Freeman, the 7-3, 2.01 ERA. These guys are tough. One of my favorite pitchers is Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
Now, Walker Buehler for 2 years, not one, folks, 2 years had Tommy John surgery on his elbow. I don't know how, if you're not a big, tall, strong guy like him, I think he's 6'4", 250 or something like that, or 240. He's a big, tall, strong guy. He came back and pitched a little bit better. He 1-6 with a 5.63 ERA. That's not going to win you any games. What's going to win you games is the Walker Buehler of 2 years ago, who can keep a team close. Now, in my prognostications, this is the player that's going to turn it for the Dodgers. This is the player that can win it. He's probably going to, if he's pitching well, there's a good chance that he'll get 2 games to pitch 2 games out of the 5-game series. I look for Walter Buehler to be a major factor in this series.
So who are you going with, PJ?
I'll be going with the Dodgers.
You go with the Dodgers. All right. So Papa Joe, here are his picks. Obviously, this is prior to the Mets Brewers deciding the wild card. So PJ is going with the series that have been decided. He is picking for the divisional series, the DS, going with the Guardians over the Tigers, the Yankees over the Royals, and the Dodgers over the Padres. I just shared that here so you can see it. And now it's time for me to make my picks. Like I said, I've already done my bracket prediction. Some were right, some were wrong. So now I'm going to address it based on who is there. The Detroit Tigers, to me, are a team of destiny. We see these teams throughout time, and the Detroit Tigers, to me, are just a team that seem like they are going to sniff, at least, the opportunity to go to the World Series. So I am going to put the Tigers over the Guardians, and this is a 5-game series. I think that the Tigers can handle this. Now, keep in mind, wild card, 3 games, divisional, 5 games, championship, 7 games, World Series, 7 games. So, well, best of, I should say. So, in the world of the Tigers, I just feel like anyone in their way right now in these first couple rounds, they're going to claw right out of the thing and make it pass. So I'm going to go with Detroit. The second one for me to bring you, Royals, Yankees. Now, the Royals are a tough team. The Royals, like I told you, have made some pretty cool history for themselves, going from 56 and 106 to winning 86 games and making it to the postseason. The Kansas City Royals handle the Baltimore Orioles, who don't win in the postseason. Last year, they were the number one team in the American League, and they got bounced out. Some people thought they were going to the World Series, and they got bounced out. This time, they didn't even make it through the wild card. Kansas City is a tough, tough team. Bobby Witt Jr. and company know what they're doing. This Kansas City Royals team pushed everyone in their division, and they pushed their way into the playoffs. I think Kansas City is another dangerous team. And there is a world where Detroit and Kansas City play each other. But the New York Yankees, I believe, are in a place right now where we could see them back in the World Series. And with what they've been able to do beyond Garrett Cole, I've said for years, I said last year, I said the year before, they said, Dan, what's going on with the Yankees? I said, they don't have enough pitching. It comes down to pitching. You can't just have one guy. And with Garrett Cole out to start this season, the New York Yankees bats were flying all over the place. They were doing what they needed to do offensively, and their rotation stepped up in the absence of Garrett Cole. He came back, and I said, sometimes even bringing back something good, there's a little growing pain. And there was some growing pains. And the Yankees had some moments with the Orioles where they went back and forth. And they had the division, they didn't have the division. But then all of a sudden, they sparked. They got a bunch of games ahead, 6 games ahead, and they won the division. The Yankees, to me, have proven they got more hitters than Judge, they got more pitchers than Cole, and I'm going with the Yankees over the Royals. In the series that I think is going to be a very passionately inspired series, and what I mean by that is these guys playing that. This is literally, when you talk about a divisional series in the postseason, a divisional series against teams that have divisional series, this is where it really becomes fun, is you call this round of the playoffs the divisional series, but the games against between the Padres and the Dodgers are a divisional series. And they've had plenty against each other this year. And I think the Dodgers, obviously they're a good team. They've spent a lot of money. They brought in a lot of hitters. The Padres, obviously they're a good team. They spent a lot of money. They brought in a lot of hitters. So this game, or these games to me, are going to be very, very interesting. When we go back to the first half of the season, they split their first series, which opened the season against each other. And how ironic is this? They opened 2024 playing each other on March 20th and 21st. And one of them will close the season on the other by playing each other. So they start against each other, and then this series will decide where one of them ends. So they will literally be a bookend. San Diego and the Dodgers split that first one, which was in San Diego. Then they went, or pardon me, that was overseas. Then they went and played against each other in San Diego. And San Diego lost, or pardon me, the Dodgers lost that 1-2. So that went in favor of San Diego. Then they went to, so the Dodgers, pardon me, didn't play in San Diego. There was overseas. I looked at this the flip way. And then they played in LA. LA dropped that series 1-2. The first game went into extra innings. Then they went to San Diego. They lost that series 1-2, speaking of the Dodgers. And then in the second half of the season, so they split the first series, lost the second series, lost the third series against San Diego. Then in the second half of the season, they had a 2-game series at San Diego. They lost both of those games, speaking of the Dodgers. And most recently, in LA, they played each other September 24th, 25th, and 26th. And that is the only series the Dodgers won, 2-1. So they lost every series and or tied all the way up to the latter part of September where they won at home against San Diego 2-1. So San Diego has had their number more often than not this season, and I believe that San Diego will have the number of the Dodgers in the postseason. And I am going with the San Diego Padres to upend the Dodgers, end their season, and move forward with an opportunity to play in the World Series. So those are my picks prior to the Mets-Brewers game being decided. I am going Tigers over Guardians, Yankees over Royals, and Padres over Dodgers. PJ and I will take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back with college football as well as the NFL. But before we do that, PJ, any final notes that you have on baseball?
Well, I think all this rhetoric we've been talking about today, maybe this, maybe that, could be. None of these teams are any better than the Philadelphia Phillies. And there's a reason for that. Well, two reasons, actually. They hit like hell and they pitch like hell. So they got, they're led by Castellanos, Schwarber, Bohm, Harper, Trey Turner, Brandon Marsh. These guys hit home runs, drive-in runs. Their pitching staff, you heard me talk about them all year long. The top three guys, three-headed monster, I call them, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Ranger Suarez. Those guys collectively don't have an ERA over 3. So whatever we talk about here with the Dodgers and the Yankees and everyone else, none of these teams are going to match up better than the Phillies. So that's where I leave it.
Well, Papa Joe's going to make Jerry very happy with that statement. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we come back, we'll stay on the field, but we'll switch fields, going from baseball to football. As Papa Joe and I get into the college football world, I will recap my Week 5 picks that I made. Papa Joe didn't make those picks with me because he was obviously out sick, so he only did an hour with us last week. So PJ and I will see how I did in college football Week 5 and NFL Week 4. We'll also make our picks for college football Week 6 and NFL Week 5 and round out with the Jaguars. That coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora right after this fast break with our fantastic partners in Central and Upstate New York, as well as that Brooklyn Pickle right there on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, down the road from Pinehurst. Just incredible, amazing, historic golf course. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience, it's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really changed the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. It is time for our college football recap from the prior week. As you know, we make our picks every single week, and then we recap the week the following week before we make our new picks. So that's exactly what we're doing right now. I made a ton of picks in the absence of Papa Joe, so PJ and you can see how I did. So let's, this is just me by my lonesome self here to see how I did on these picks. So let's take the first one. Army stayed undefeated, defeating Temple, and did that against or inside of their first season in the American Athletic Conference, aka the AAC. So we have that one that is good to go for me. Had Army in that game over Temple on the road. The next game that I picked was Miami over Virginia Tech. That game was a weird game. Strange. They called it a Virginia Tech touchdown. I don't know how they even called it a touchdown. And I don't know how they had irrefutable evidence to not call it a touchdown once they called it a touchdown. Very weird finish. I went with Miami. Miami got the victory. Rutgers beat Washington in Washington's, I believe, second game inside of Big Ten play as a Big Ten member. Yeah, it was their second. Well, let's see here. Yeah, because they played Northwestern. So Rutgers, in the second coming of Greg Schiano, found a way to win this game 21-18. Probably one of the biggest, if not the program's biggest win in many, many years. So I got Washington wrong on that one. The Lane train pulls in and gets stopped in Kentucky. Kentucky had a weird finish here. Guys trying to run it into the end zone. Ball gets popped out. Another guy catches the ball midair, runs it into the end zone. That's how the game ends, 20-17. When Ole Miss misses their field goal, and I can't take credit for this. Somebody online said they didn't call him Ole Make. They call him Ole Miss, and they missed the field goal. So, little catchy thing there. Ole Miss loses the game. The Lane train gets stopped up against Kentucky. Then we have Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State taking a look at their matchup against Kansas State. They got blown out by Kansas State, so I got that one wrong. Now we go to the Brigham Young game, BYU up against Baylor. I picked BYU over Baylor in a close match. BYU won the game, so I got that one correct. And then I had Tulane against South Florida. They won 45-10. South Florida has been blown out in back-to-back weeks. They've been blown out, I believe, 50-15. And now in this game against Tulane, blown out 45-10. So not a good couple weeks after playing Alabama tough. Feels like that game against Alabama took some wind out of the sails there. USC, looking at their game against Wisconsin, they won that game 38-21 as a member of the Big Ten. So I got that correct. Then we go to Louisville and see how Louisville did in their matchup. So they went up against Notre Dame. I picked Louisville on the road. Notre Dame won by a touchdown, 31-24, in a close game of two teams in the top 20, so I got that one incorrect. UCF did not have a good day against Colorado. When Colorado came to town, I thought UCF would find a way to win this game. They got blown out by Colorado 48-21, so I got that incorrect. Duke up against North Carolina. I told you it's more than just basketball now. This was a 1-point game. Duke won 21-20. I got that correct. Texas, who some still consider to be the number one team in the country, they played up against Mississippi State. They won 35-13 in their first season in the SEC. So a shout out to Texas for getting another dub. And then Stanford, I thought, hey, Stanford might come over to Clemson. I knew that this was a big one for me to pick. I was like, maybe Stanford can squeak one away. They did not. They got blown out in Death Valley. So I got that incorrect. I picked Georgia to beat Alabama. We all know that that game ended with a Georgia comeback, but Alabama had too much and put on too much early and closed out Georgia. Now Alabama's undefeated in Kalen DeBoer's first season, and Georgia is sitting in a place right now where they have one loss in these first few weeks. Penn State, I had them over Illinois, and they defeated the Illini, so I got that correct. And then Utah, the Utes, I had them going up against Arizona, getting a win at home. Arizona's been an enigma this year. Arizona won 23-10, so I got that one wrong. And then the final game was Syracuse to defeat Holy Cross. So let's see here. So I'm 2-2 there, 2-3, 3-3, 4, 5-3, 5-4, 5-5, 6, 7-5, 7-6, 7-7, 8-7, 8-8, 9-8. So I ended this week with a winning record of 9-8 in college football week 5. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down on my board. That means that I have an overall record of predictions this season with 36 wins to 26 losses. And PJ is 26-19. Didn't put any picks in this week. PJ, before we make our picks for week 6, do you have any thoughts on week 5?
Well, just a game that the game of the century or decade or the year or whatever you want to call it was extraordinary. And you're right. I was dozing, and then I would get up, something would happen, and I'd fall back to sleep again, and something would happen. I'd be up, I'd be sitting there, and I'm looking at my clock. It's 11 o'clock, and I'm saying, what the hell am I doing up? And I was watching a hell of a football game. Gosh darn. I mean, what can you say? I mean, you saw two teams that played so fast and so physical that how can anyone in the rest of the country stand up to these guys? I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. But we're going to find out, I guess, when you get 12 teams in a playoff. We'll find out. Both of these teams are going to make it, though. I know that.
Yeah, crazy seeing that game. An awesome game. Really exciting. A lot of fun. Kalen DeBoer. We'll see if this is for real as time goes on here, but very excited to see how that all goes down, and very much looking forward to what's going to happen here. So looking forward to it very, very much so. Let's get into college football week 6. P to the Jizzle, J. Edgar Twizzle. Let's do it. College football week 6. Let's make our picks here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And the first game we're going to go to, Papa Joe, in this schedule for week 6, which has us here in the early portion of October. There's a couple games tonight. There's a bunch of games on Friday. I'm going to ask you this one. Houston at TCU. What do you got, PJ?
Houston at TCU. I'm not sure anyone cares about that game because the lowest ticket price is $11. I won't know if the half is going to be full. I guess TCU is up by 16 and a half. I don't know. I guess I'd take TCU.
So PJ going with TCU. So college football week 6 picks are happening live here on Wake Up Call, and you can tune in to see what this is all about. And we appreciate you all so very much. PJ going with TCU in this game, and I'm also going to go with TCU. Sonny Dykes and the crew. I think he's done a heck of a job. He did a heck of a job when he was at SMU, and then going over to TCU brought them to the college football playoff. So not too shabby. I'm going to pick TCU. They had a nice game against Stanford on the road to start off the season, so I'm going to go there. How about this one? Michigan State at Oregon is only lowest ticket price, $17, PJ. What do you got? Michigan at Oregon. Michigan State, pardon me, at Oregon.
We're looking at the same screen, aren't we?
Yeah.
I don't think Michigan State can run with these guys. I've always felt, at least the last 5 years, that Oregon's one of the fastest teams I've ever seen play. And that's, Michigan State's going to get blown out in this game.
Yeah, Michigan. Listen, Oregon is one of those teams that automatically brings more competition to the Big Ten, in my opinion, and gives more of an opportunity for these Big Ten teams to not just cakewalk it through the season. So I do like what's going on. I mean, the Oregon Ducks, listen, they're a good team. They're a tough team. They've done a lot of good things, and I'm going to go with the Oregon Ducks to get this victory as well. So I'm going Oregon. PJ's going Oregon, which brings me to my last game on Friday night. And that last game, PJ, that happens this Friday night is going to be Syracuse on the road at to visit and play up against UNLV. The game is going to be played at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Las Vegas, say it with me, Raiders. So, so the Raiders, that home is going to be where we will find the Syracuse Orange and the UNLV Rebels. And PJ, going into this game, we have seen once again name, image, and likeness rear its ugly, ugly head. And the starting quarterback of UNLV, with the team having an undefeated record, decided to leave the team, declared himself a redshirt, which I didn't know you could do in college. I thought the school had to. Declared himself a redshirt, made himself an automatic free agent because he said he was promised NIL money that he didn't get. So the starting quarterback helps the team go undefeated. They're ranked in the top 25. They're being talked about in the college football playoff. He quits and leaves the team. One of their running backs, Michael Allen, quits and leaves the team as well because of playing time. So now Syracuse is playing a UNLV team who has their backup quarterback, Haj Malik Williams, playing for them, but he's a dual threat guy, and he just helped them to get another victory. So what are your thoughts with so much going on around UNLV that is bringing a college football and collegiate athletics just giant spotlight on if they can do it at UNLV, they could do it anywhere. Yet another loophole, yet another problem in NIL and the transfer portal. What are your thoughts on the situation with a quarterback and a running back quitting on the team just a few games in? And the fact that Syracuse is going over there to face off against them, I want to know who you're picking as well.
Well, this is an embarrassment. I mean, this you heard me bitch about this many times about these kids not caring about college. They don't care. Now, I read an article yesterday about Mike Norvell, who we know is one of our favorite coaches at FSU, and he has guys run sprints and do this. They run races intra-team to see who can win and everything. He says no one's running because the team has quit. So if a team like Florida State has quit after 1-4, UNLV, kudos to them to keep going. But it's disgusting and it's embarrassing that these kids are actually pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. Now, if I was a UNLV alumnus, I'd be really pissed about something like this. I mean, it's embarrassing. And if it happens at the UNLV, it can happen anywhere, at FSU or at any place. Not now because it's too late in the season. But how can you rationalize that you're giving up $100,000 year salary for $100,000 a year education and you don't want to go? Well, I hope that kid rots in hell. I like Syracuse.
Papa Joe letting you know how he feels. So I'm going with Syracuse as well in this game. It's Syracuse's first road test of the season. Malik Williams is a talented quarterback, and Syracuse is going to have to be more than prepared for him. They've had trouble stopping the run, so they have to make sure they can stop a running quarterback. They also need to get to the backfield and get some of those sacks on the quarterback, and would be nice to see Syracuse force a fumble or two in this game. And defensively, in the back line, the DB's got to step up a bit here, and we'll see if Syracuse has a more balanced attack with their rushing attack. Currently, Kyle McCord is in 4 games as a member of the Syracuse Orange. He's leading the nation of all quarterbacks of 130-plus schools. In 2 categories, he's number 1, and he's in the top 4 in 2 other categories. So he is, with completions in a game on average, he's number 1 in the country, and yards per game passing, he's number 1 in the country. So shout out to Kyle McCord and the Syracuse Orange. We'll see if LaQuint Allen and the gang will get more involved here in the backfield as the team heads off to the West Coast. Keep in mind, one of their running backs came from the West Coast, Will Nixon, who worked with Michael Penix Jr. as a member of the Washington Huskies. Next game that we have up here, PJ takes us to the SEC, and it takes us to a Saturday game that I'm all too excited about, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So this is what's going on here in the world of the SEC. The Missouri Tigers and the Texas A&M Aggies. Missouri is 4-0. Texas A&M is 4-1. They've gone 4-0 since losing to Notre Dame. What do you have in this one?
Well, Missouri, just like last year, has surprised me. I never thought, I really never thought they could be competitive in the SEC. Well, they proved me wrong. They're recruiting well. This year they got another top 15 recruiting class. They're doing a hell of a job. But I don't think they beat Texas A&M at home. This is actually, it's a pick-em game, 2 points or less, but I like Texas A&M at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think Texas A&M, after losing that game, there's a little chip on the shoulder, and I'm going to go with TAMU as well. I got to go with Texas A&M in this. Missouri has surprised me, and in a very good way. Texas A&M, they did some really good things under Jimbo Fisher, including beating Alabama. They should have been in the college football playoff under Jimbo Fisher, but, they had to let in teams that didn't do anything to get there. So Texas A&M should have been in that 1-loss year, and they didn't get in. Jimbo's not the coach. His defensive coordinator, Mike Elko, left and went to Duke, had 2 good seasons at Duke as the head coach, and then was asked to return to Texas A&M to become the head coach, and he's got the team with a 4-1 record, 4-0 in their last 4 games. I'm going with TAMU. SMU at Louisville, PJ. SMU is in the ACC now, and Louisville is coming off of a loss on the road to Notre Dame. SMU, in their first season in the ACC, granted they haven't played a bunch of ACC games, but they're 4-1 on the season, and their first ACC game ever was played at home against Florida State in Dallas, Texas, and they blew out Florida State 42-16. I told y'all about Rhett Lashley and the crew. Some of y'all believe me, some of y'all didn't, but SMU came to play. They're 4-1. Louisville's 3-1. The game's in Kentucky. Who do you have?
Well, SMU is showing people they can play this year, and Louisville can score. They should have won last week, but they come up a little bit short. But I like Louisville in this game.
PJ going with the Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Mustangs because PJ should definitely know this from all the cars he's had. Mustangs run pretty fast, and they run pretty well. I'm going with the SMU Mustangs to get the victory on the road. They've struggled to score in certain games this season. They could be undefeated right now if they could figure out a way to score in one of the games that they had here. The loss that they had to BYU at home, 18-15, just couldn't get themselves down the field and into the end zone. And then against Florida State, who's really not a good team this year, they blew them the heck out. Let's see how they do against a better team in Louisville on the road this week. Next game that I have up for you, PJ. These are 2 teams that are unranked, but they're 2 teams that have done some really good things this year. Boston College, under Bill O'Brien, they've had themselves a nice start to the season. They're 4-1. They only lost to Missouri at Missouri 27-21. And then we look at, on the other side of the matchup, the Virginia Cavaliers, And Tony Elliott, the former offensive coordinator under Dabo Swinney in Clemson, people were talking about him at the beginning of the year. Is he going to lose his job? Well, he's got his team 3-1. The only game they lost was against Maryland at home, 27-13. They went to Coastal Carolina, who typically plays spoiler, and they blew them out 43-24. So Boston College at Virginia. Don't let it fool you, folks, that they're not ranked in the top 25. What do you have for this, PJ?
It's going to be a good game. This is a one-point game either way. The smart guys think that Virginia should win because they're playing at home. But I think Boston College is a better team.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, PJ. I'm going with Boston College. So I'm going to go with BC in this one to get their victory here and move forward. So BC and Virginia, once again, a game that you should all be watching. Do not overlook this game by any stretch of the imagination. The game is going to be on the ACC Network at noon Eastern Time. This is a game that I find to be very interesting because of the state of the teams. So I'd love to get your thoughts when it comes to Pittsburgh at North Carolina. And I look at both of these teams. I look at Pat Narduzzi, another guy that people thought, okay, last season was a really bad season, and how quickly they forget how many great years Pat Narduzzi has brought to Pitt, including winning an ACC championship and playing for 2 ACC championships overall. So to me, I feel like Pat Narduzzi has been a huge piece of success when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to, he's losing coordinators and coaches and whatnot that are getting jobs here, there, and wherever, and he's still finding a way to win. I don't think you can knock this man for one season last year that didn't go the way they wanted it to go. He's definitely come to play this year. North Carolina under Mac Brown, some people are calling for his head, and he's still got a winning record of 3-2 after the loss to James Madison in what looked like a basketball game, 70-50. People were done with Mac. They were done with Mac even before that. Well, the Mac attack is 3-2, and they're at home against Pittsburgh. And I'd love to get your thoughts, PJ, when 4-0 Pittsburgh comes to North Carolina and to Chapel Hill.
Well, Mac Brown is an institution in college football. He's like Nick Saban. He's been around for years. He's a class man, graduates his players. How in the hell they lost to James Madison, I'll never understand that one. But anyway, to get to the game, I think that North Carolina is favored, and I think they should win.
Yeah, PJ going with North Carolina at home. I think North Carolina, I'm going to give them the slight edge here at home as well. I think this could be a good game, but this could be a game where people maybe back off of Mac a little bit and show him some more love as North Carolina gets a victory over a good Pittsburgh team this season. Next game that we have up, PJ, is going to take us to a game that could be a Triplum game, depending on what y'all think. They got a good offense, and why are they moving the ball offensively and doing some good things? Well, I would like to say it's because offensive coordinator Tim Lester, who's a very good friend of mine, is somebody I've known for a long time, and he's worked in the NFL, and he's worked as a head coach, and he's worked as a coordinator, and he's worked as an assistant. This man has definitely built up his resume, and he leads the Iowa Hawkeyes as their coordinator on the offensive side. They're going to Ohio State, and that game's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Any thoughts on Iowa upending Ohio State, or is this all Ohio?
Well, I suppose Ohio State's they're heavily favored by almost 3 touchdowns. I don't know much about Iowa. I just know that the way I think, Ohio State every year is overrated. So I would like to see Iowa win, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, PJ going with, and we equal each other on the fact that Ohio State's one of those teams that doesn't have to do nothing, yet they seemingly get everything. But I see them winning here at home. The Ohio State Buckeyes getting the victory and moving forward on their season. The next game that we have here, PJ, Auburn has played spoiler before. They've defeated Georgia before. They've defeated Alabama before. They've defeated them both in a single season when both of those teams went on to play for the national championship. and I was down in St. Augustine at the Lando Lagoon watching that game. Auburn at Georgia, Saturday afternoon. What do you got?
Well, we have to take a breath and relax after the Georgia-Alabama game. I'm not sure Kirby's going to rest his players. He probably gave them Sunday off. He's right back at it Monday working them hard. Georgia has too much, Auburn. I know that Auburn just flipped a quarterback from Notre Dame to Auburn just yesterday, a 4-star. So Notre Dame's going to be pissed off about that. But he's not playing until next year. But next year's got to come fast enough for Georgia. Georgia looks like they're over a 3-touchdown favorite here. They're playing at home. They're pissed off because they lost. They shouldn't have lost, but they did. And I like Georgia.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia. Auburn comes in this game with a loss at home to California, at home to Arkansas, and at home to Oklahoma. So the only games that they've won this season, they've only played home games. They played 5 home games. It's their first road test. So they're 2-3 on the season. They're 2-3 at home. And this road test against Georgia, I think, is going to be too much for Auburn. I'm going with them Dogs, and I'm going with Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs to get a victory here. PJ picked a perfect week to be out and be resting. Not that we ever want PJ to be sick, and we never want him to be sick again, by the grace of God and in the name of Jesus Christ. If you were going to take any week off, Papa Joe, I think you took this one off on purpose because Florida didn't play. So now we take a look at the Gators, who will host UCF. Allegedly, the Gators had told UCF years ago, we'll play you. And UCF allegedly said no because the Gators wanted 2-1. You come see us in Gainesville twice, we'll only come to Orlando one time. And at the time, allegedly, the athletics director, Danny White, said no. So now they're playing each other under a new athletics director, and UCF is going to Gainesville at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time this Saturday. What do you got, PJ?
Well, you know I'm going to pick Florida, but I'm very impressed with UCF this year. They play tough. Who the hell knows what Florida's going to do? All I know is the Bull Gators down here have already hired Lane Kiffin to be a coach next year. So I would expect that poor Billy Napier doesn't have long to live in Florida, but I imagine he'll last probably the season. And the talk down here is Lane Kiffin's gonna come to Florida. I'm not so sure about that, but well, let's hope they keep winning Florida. I like Florida at home, so I might as well stay with them.
All right, PJ's gonna go with them Gators. UCF's coming off of a really ugly game, and I'm gonna lean on the side of the Florida Gators to win this one. I don't think UCF is a bad team. They're coming off a really bad game at home against Colorado, and I feel like Florida is going to be clicking here and figure out how to get it done. PJ, Miami at Cal. This game is on the West Coast. It's an ACC game, believe it or not. It's at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. What are your thoughts? Does Miami trip at all against Cal? Now, keep in mind, Cal is 3-1 this season. Their only loss came to Florida State in a low-scoring 14-9 affair in Tallahassee. Miami at Cal, what happens?
Well, you're right. California looked terrible against Florida State, and Florida State looks terrible against everyone. So I don't know how that happened, but I think Miami's got a little bit too much. I think this kid Cam Ward could be in the talk for the Heisman Trophy. He's got a big arm, throws it all over the field, make all the throws. I think it'd be too much for California to defense.
Yeah, I think Miami, listen, they're a high-scoring, high-powered offense. I said that I needed more time to see if they were for real, and I'm leaning more on the side that they very well may be. I picked them at the upper echelon of the ACC in the preseason, but in the regular season, I wanted to see more out of them. I think their offense is going to be too much for Cal. If Cal is going to be playing in the 20s, Miami's a team that can score in the 40s or the 50s. So I'm going to go with with Miami on the road in this one. PJ, Michigan at Washington. What do you have for this matchup?
Michigan at Washington.
Yes, sir.
Well, all I got to say is who cares about Michigan? And they're playing Washington. It's going to be a close game. I can't. I just can't pick Michigan to do anything. Washington.
Yep. PJ going Washington. Washington had a bad game against Rutgers, and so I'm a little concerned with Washington here, but I think they'll bounce back. I'm going to go with the Washington Huskies. The last game, PJ, that I have for us to pick before we jump into the NFL will take us to Clemson, Florida State. These two teams are the two teams that the media picked to be in the top two of the ACC. The media, in its majority, picked Florida State. I did not. I picked Clemson. Clemson at Florida State, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Clemson started the season ranked 14. They've now come back up to 15. Florida State started the season ranked 10th in the nation, and Florida State at this point is probably ranked in the 50s. So where do you have this game?
Well, Florida State is changing quarterbacks. They're going with a redshirt freshman, Brock Glenn.
Yep.
He seems big, tall, strong, tough guy. But I don't know if he'll be able to hold up against the fearsome rush that Clemson's going to throw at him. I look for Clemson just to roll here.
Yep, I said that Mike Norvell is going to have to change his quarterback at some point, and the reason why I didn't pick Florida State is I didn't believe that DJ Uiagalelei could be the answer in his first season at Florida State. I just didn't see that. I didn't want to put my eggs in the basket of he's coming there for his first time ever, and he's going to get this team to be the best team in the ACC. I thought that was too much to say in that respect, and ultimately I think at this point they're going to have to change quarterbacks or else they're going to come from Mike Norvell's head. So with that being said, I am going with Clemson on the road to continue their season. People already counted Clemson out after they lost to Georgia. They're 3-1 since then, and they've scored 66, 59, and 40 in the games that they've played since only scoring 3 against Georgia. So with that being said, that's what that looks like. PJ and I are going to take a quick step aside. We're going to come back, and we're going to give you the NFL goods right after this. Here is a message from Fire Pit Barbecue and Saloon, located on 264 New York Route 48 in Fulton, New York.
The aroma from the fire pit itself, you can smell it, and it just makes you want to come in and get the food. I feel like when you walk in the door, it's just very welcoming, from the employees to the atmosphere. We make it fresh every day, full of flavor, and you can get it plain and still has so much flavor, or you can choose from one of our many sauces, so you can get the same plate at the table, but each person can have a different flavor to it. When I first walked in, before the place was even open, I came in and talked to the manager, and she just made me feel like, just feels really comfortable, feels like a family. We work as a team, we work together. We do bands on the weekends, Friday, Saturday nights. We are doing trivia on Tuesday nights. Monday night, we're going to be doing some karaoke. So there's a lot of different things for kind of everybody. Once a month, Dan Tortora is going to be in here hosting his show with special guests from the sports community. Stop on down to Fire Pit Barbecue and Saloon. We are open 7 days a week, located at 264 New York Route 48 in Fulton. We also offer catering. Feel free to give us a call, 315-402-2004.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Always having a good time. And, of course, we're here on a Thursday, which means that P. Jizzle for Shizzle My Nizzle is with us here. Papa Joe hanging out with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And, of course, I gave you my picks for college football week 5. Ended with a record of 9-8. Then PJ and I picked week 6. It's now time for us to recap the picks that I had for the NFL last week in week 4 of the NFL. So this is what it looks like here in the NFL world. Taking a look at this schedule that we had last week, and then PJ and I will make our picks for week 5. In week 4, I had the Cowboys over the Giants. I got that correct. And then after that, we take a look at the New Orleans game against Atlanta. Atlanta came back, and Wk4 hit a 50-plus yarder, so New Orleans lost that game in Hotlanta. So I did not get that one right. Let's take a look at the Rams. The Rams lost to Chicago 24-18 on the road, so I got that one incorrect as well. Minnesota went up against Green Bay in the Aaron Jones Bowl, and Minnesota won 31-29. I got that one correct. The Pittsburgh Steelers lost their first game of the season on the road at Indianapolis. Indianapolis has been an enigma. They won 27-24. Hopefully Anthony Richardson, go Gators, is okay. But they lost. Carolina Panthers lost by 10 to Cincinnati in the Andy Dalton Bowl. The Houston Texans defeated the Jaguars, so I got that one correct. I got Carolina wrong. Washington did their business against Arizona and against Arizona 42-14 on the road. I said Jaden Daniels would have the best rookie season of all 2024 rookie quarterbacks in the NFL, and he has absolutely started out that way. I had San Francisco over New England. They won that game. I had the Las Vegas Raiders over the Cleveland Browns, and PJ doing it too. The Raiders won the game. Kansas City, I had Kansas City over the Chargers on the road. Kansas City won that game. I picked Buffalo to defeat the Ravens. They did not win that game. And I had Tennessee to defeat an abysmal Miami team without Tua, and Detroit to handle Seattle. So it all shook out that ultimately on the week, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins. And then I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses. So I went 9-7 on the week. So 9-8 in college football, 9-7 in the NFL. Not too shabby. I'll take it. Now it's time for PJ. Well, PJ, any thoughts you want to make on week 4 in the NFL? Anything that surprised you, stuck out to you? Baltimore went buck wild. I told Tennessee you shouldn't get rid of Derrick Henry. They didn't listen to me. And now I think Derrick Henry has the longest play from scrimmage for the Baltimore Ravens on a run, and he reached over 20 miles an hour on that run that he had that went almost the full length of the field. So any thoughts that you have on week 4 in the NFL before we make our picks for week 5?
Well, I think I sent you a note. I said, did you see Henry's run?
Yeah.
And when I looked at it, and it came up, and I saw him running, and I'm saying, this can't be possible. And I waited, and then they ran it again. And I said, how can someone 6'3", 245 pounds, run that fast away from defensive backs? Tennessee screwed up somewhere. I don't, Baltimore, the Baba, needs to coach a lot better because he has 2 extraordinary athletes that he can, let Lamar Jackson throw the ball every once in a while. If they can run 40 times a game, they're going to win every game. So anyway, and of course, the Jaguars. I mean, it's going to take me 30 minutes to tell you about the Jaguars, and we don't have that kind of time. But I am disgusted with the Jaguars. And what can you say? I mean, they should have won that game. But Stroud is, when you compare the 2 quarterbacks, Stroud and Lawrence, Stroud is so much better. And Lawrence is not a stiff by any means. He's a good quarterback. I just don't know if he's in the right system or not. And I don't know if Pedersen's the right coach for this team. Right now, the Bull Jaguars down here are getting ready to get rid of him. So Stroud looks so much more comfortable in the pocket, and Lawrence just doesn't look that comfortable. I don't know what to say about that. But the Jaguars are a major disappointment this year.
Yeah, Jaguars 0-4. We will discuss them here after we jump through our picks. Like I said, I went 9-7 this week, so I am happy with that this past week of week 4. Let's jump into week 5, PJ. We got a game tonight. Thursday night feetball takes us to Atlanta, and that will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons. It is an NFC South divisional matchup. It finds Baker Mayfield, who's resurrected his career, up against Kirk Cousins, who's a better quarterback than people give him credit for as well. Who do you got?
Well, after Atlanta's game last week and after Tampa's game last week, Tampa looked like world beaters against Philly, but this is a whole different animal. They're playing on a different turf. This is Atlanta, I think. This is a pick'em game, actually, but I like Atlanta.
PJ going with Hot Atlanta in this game. This one is going to be difficult for both teams. I think this could be a 24-27 game. PJ going with Hot Atlanta, and I'm going to have to agree with PJ here and also go with Hot Atlanta in this game, playing at home. They've played primetime. They played multiple primetime games. They played a Sunday night game, a Monday night game. Now they're playing a Thursday night game. So obviously people had high hopes for Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, and I got Kirk Cousins squeaking by here. After New Orleans squeaked by Atlanta, after Atlanta squeaked by New Orleans on a last-second field goal, I'm going to have Atlanta squeaking by the Bucs and winning these early divisional games that are going to mean the world to the team when they are fighting for a playoff spot. I think winning these NFC South games now is going to bode really well for Atlanta down the road. I got Hot Atlanta winning this game over a visiting Tampa team, which is tonight. The New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings, it says they're at Minnesota, but this game is actually in London. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the Vikings gave up a home game to go to London Town, and this game is going to be played on Sunday morning, PJ, at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on the NFL Network. What do you got?
I've got to be watching this game, but I like Minnesota.
So PJ going with Lake Minnetonka in this one. I got to go with Minnesota as well in this game. I just feel like Minnesota is going to bring too much to this. They've brought a lot. This is the Sam Darnold Bowl. He has the opportunity to go up against his team that he was drafted to. So I'm going to go with Minnesota in this game to get the victory and move forward here with yet another win after winning on the road at Green Bay when Aaron Jones got to visit his old team, being on the Minnesota Vikings. And also keep in mind Tyler Conklin, the tight end for the New York Jets. He is a former Minnesota Viking, so this is his game to go up against his old team. Carolina at Chicago. This is the battle of the number one pick. Chicago gave up their number one pick to Carolina. They got Bryce Young. What happened with that pick? Bryce Young has been benched. So how do we feel about this, PJ? How did things go with this? It seems like giving up that pick worked in Chicago's favor. They ended up with the number one pick this season. They got Caleb Williams. Then they got the number 9 pick, Rome Odunze. And it seems like they have been in good placement here as far as who won the trade for that number one pick, with Bryce Young a year later not even starting for Carolina. It's Andy Dalton going to visit Caleb Williams. Who wins?
Andy Dalton's a good quarterback. There's no one ever said he wasn't a good quarterback. Why they didn't think he was better than Bryce Young, I don't know. But Caleb Williams has shown me something. He showed me a lot of guts, and he's got a hell of an arm. I didn't think he was as good, frankly, but I do like Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, I mean, this is a game where Carolina's going on the road. Chicago has proven that they can beat team. I mean, they just had the Rams come to town, and they beat them. I think Chicago may be a little bit better than you might want to give them credit for. I'm going to go with Chi-Town as well to win this matchup, and I still think Andy Dalton's a good quarterback, and I never thought he wasn't. So Andy Dalton moving forward with this team. I don't think they're going to get this win, but let's hope they make it a game. Baltimore at Cincinnati. This is a big-time game in the AFC North. What do you got?
Well, this is a statement game, I think. I think that Baltimore's going to have to tell everyone that they're still a very good football team. They're a physical football team. And if I was Baltimore and I was Mr. Harbaugh, I would run the ball and don't give Joe Burrow a chance to play. Now, if you can hold him to 25 minutes or so, I think you can win the game. If not, Joe Burrow's going to have a field day. In saying that, I think that Joe Burrow will have a field day.
So you're going to go with where you're going to go with Cincinnati?
Right.
PJ going with Cincinnati in the game. I feel like Cincinnati's been counted out. They just got their first win, and they haven't had themselves a great season. They're 1-3. Baltimore's had a better season. Baltimore's on the road. I believe in both of these quarterbacks, but I ultimately believe that the one that's going to get it done in this game is my man, who I defended, who I said would be an NFL quarterback, to a room full of crickets. Lamar, don't call me Jackson. I am going with the Baltimore Ravens and Derek motherfreaking Henry to take care of business. Next game we got, PJ, Miami at New England. Miami sucks. New England kind of sucks. They're playing each other in a game that may be on Northeast television, probably not up here. Well, no, it might be, because the Jets are playing in the morning. So Miami is a shell of itself without Tua. New England's got a pretty good defense. They got some things on offense. They've won some games. They've lost some games. What do you think?
It's a terrible game. This is just a terrible, terrible game. I don't really care about it, but I just got to give New England a shot because they're at home.
Yeah, I got to go with New England as well, just because Miami is absolutely awful without Tua. And that's not to be any offense to the quarterbacks that are backing him up. It's just the team goes as far as he goes. And I said, let's see what they can become when Tua's healthy for a season. He was healthy last year. Look at how good they were. Cleveland at Washington, PJ. Washington's been rolling. Cleveland's been confusing. What do you got?
This kid Daniels is super. I remember watching him play for LSU, and I said, geez, is this guy really this good? Yeah, he's as good. Washington.
Yeah, I'm going with Washington as well. The team has sparked itself early. It looks like this is going to continue. They're fun to watch. They're exciting. I said before the season started, Jaden Daniels might be the best thing to happen to Washington at quarterback in many years, and that seems to be the case early on. I'm going with the Washington Commanders. Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Anthony Richardson is on the injury report. He may play. Or it might be Joe Flacco, who is a really, really, really good quarterback still, whether or not people understand that. Jacksonville has had an 0-4 start to their season. They've lost the only time that they were at home this season was against the Cleveland Browns, and they lost that game 18-13. They went into the back of their end zone and got a safety toward the end of the game. This last game against Houston ended in their own end zone as well. Indianapolis at Jacksonville, what happens?
Well, Joe Flacco, I'm sure, will keep throwing the ball around. Joe been around for years. You heard me talk about Jacksonville earlier. I mean, there's nothing to say other than they have to play better on all three sides of the ball. And I don't know if that happens under Pedersen. I don't know if they can rally or not, but someone's got to light a fire under their offense. They got too many weapons they're too good. They're just too good, and they need to prove it this week. So I'm going to stake them.
So PJ is going with the Jaguars to win this game at home. I think the game could be ugly. I think the game could get out of hand. I think if Jacksonville loses this game, you're going to see some changes, something. Or they're just going to stick with what they have and go with the definition of insanity. But I'm going to lean on the Jaguars this week to pull out a victory and to stop the bleeding. If they don't, I think you're going to see Trevor Lawrence unstrap that helmet, and I think you're going to see this team have to move forward and make some needed moves because it ain't working the way it's been these first 4 weeks. Buffalo at Houston, the battle of red, white, and blue, PJ. What do you got?
Buffalo really got spanked last week. And Houston, I mean, they just look so comfortable with the ball. I mean, Stroud is just winging it everywhere. They got a decent running game. They got a decent defensive team. And it looks like they can outscore people. By the way, Dan, I'll go back to the Jacksonville-Indianapolis game. The tickets are as low as $23.
I saw that.
Wow. Yeah, Houston. I like Houston in this game.
Yeah, I'm going with Houston. C.J. Stroud, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Not one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, playing against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and Josh Allen. And I think Houston, in Houston, will have the slight edge. Buffalo is playing some really tough games, playoff caliber games early on. Baltimore on the road, Houston on the road. They're going to be tested, that's for sure. Let's see how they do in this one. Las Vegas, Raiders. So the Raiders going up against the Denver Broncos. I told you that behind Jaden Daniels, one of my picks to have a good rookie season at quarterback that I don't think anybody's really going to go with me on was Bobo Nix. PJ was high on him in the draft. PJ talked about him before I did. We both predicted he'd be in the first round. I predicted that he would go to Denver. And I told you after the draft that, in my opinion, Bo Nix was going to have one of the best seasons as a rookie quarterback behind Jaden Daniels' season. That Jaden would have the best, but that Bo would have a good season as well. I told you that before he was even named the starter in Denver. The team is 2-2, and they're hosting the Raiders, who have been the definition of an enigma. What do you have, PJ?
I like Denver in this game. This is going to be a good game for them in a mile high.
Yeah, I'm going with the Mile High Salute. Saluting them Broncos. Tickets in that game, $113 at their lowest price. Arizona at San Francisco. PJ, what do you got for this one?
I like San Francisco. I know that CMC, I don't know if he's going to be playing anymore this year. He got some bad reports on his Achilles, both legs. Apparently he has some issues. So I don't look for him to come back anytime soon. But they got an excellent quarterback. They got a very good defense. So I look for San Francisco to carry forward here.
Yeah, I got to go with the San Francisco 49ers in this matchup as well. I think they just bring too much to the table, and Jordan Mason's filled in well without CMC. Pray that CMC's okay. I don't want to have any parallels to earlier on in his season where he was this fantastic number one running back in the country and then got hurt and then disappeared and then came back and was the number one running back of the country. I don't want to see him disappear again. God willing, he'll be okay, and all will be right with his life now and in the future and with his time in the NFL in San Francisco. I'm going with San Francisco in the game, though. Green Bay at the Rams. The Rams they don't have Puka. They don't have Cooper Kupp. Green Bay's got Jordan Love back. But keep in mind this, PJ, and tell Mary this. In 4 games this season, Jordan Love's been the starter for 2. Malik Willis has been the starter for 2. Jordan Love is a starter, 0-2. Back up in Green Bay, Malik Willis, 2-0. Green Bay at L.A. Can Jordan Love get his first win as a starter this season?
I don't think either one of these quarterbacks are worth a darn. I know Jordan Love is supposed to be the next coming of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and everything, and I just don't see that. That's why I'm sort of sour on Green Bay. And the Rams got spanked. I think they're looking to come back. I like the Rams.
Yeah, you know what, PJ? Kyron Williams has been a really good player for the Rams, running back coming out of Notre Dame. I'm going to give the Rams the edge here in this game against Green Bay. Green Bay's been all over the place, but they won more with Malik Willis at starter, so something to think about. Next one we have the Giants at Seattle. The Giants have been atrocious. Seattle, they got more of their team healthy now. Jackson Smith and Jigba stepped up. There's a lot of good things. They obviously have DK Metcalf. Geno Smith has proven that he's their starting quarterback of many years. What do you got?
Boy, Geno Smith, I thought he was dead 5 years ago. Then I thought he was dead 3 years ago. And he keeps coming back. He's playing good ball. I think Seattle wins this one rather handily, frankly.
Yeah, I got Seattle winning this one without too much of a push. I got Seattle over the Giants, which brings us to Sunday Night Football, PJ. And Sunday Night Football puts us in a place where we will see Dallas at Pittsburgh. This brings me back to my childhood. It brings me back to the Super Bowl. It brings me back to very bitter rivals. The Cowboys haven't looked that good. Pittsburgh is coming off of their only loss of the season under Justin Fields. What do you got?
Well, I don't think Justin Fields is the answer for quarterback there. I don't even know if Russell Wilson will be the answer. But I think your defense should give Dak Prescott all sorts of problems. And I think they'll score enough points to win. So I like Pittsburgh here.
Yeah, I got to go with Pitt in this one as well. Pittsburgh's just been dangerous, and Dallas has proven that they struggle to score the ball. I don't know why you would go backward and go and get Zeke Elliott when Zeke Elliott wasn't working out the first time around. But they went back and got him, and their rushing attack is not a threat to anybody so far this season. CeeDee Lamb is good. Dak goes up and down. I got to go with Pittsburgh at home. Monday Night Football, and keep in mind, folks, Detroit, Tennessee, Philly, and the Chargers of LA are off this week. It is the first bye week of the 2024-25 season here in Week 5, so they're not playing. New Orleans at Kansas City. We already know, PJ, Kansas City plays primetime. We already know that if it comes down to a call that nobody else is going to get, Kansas City's going to get it. We already know if it's down the stretch and it's a few points, those officials always seem to lean red. What do you got? New Orleans at Kansas City.
Kansas City has the best coach, period, in football. He's proved it year in and year out. I don't care when he was at Philadelphia or here. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to put his players in position to win. He knows what he needs to tell Mahomes to win. Kansas City has to prove that they're not very good for me to not to pick them because they keep winning. They win ugly, but they win. So I got them.
I got Kansas City as well. New Orleans has done some good things this season. And I've told people Derek Carr, that's a good quarterback right there. And best quarterback New Orleans has had in a while since Drew Brees retired. I got to go with Kansas City, though, in this game. It's prime time, and they show up when them lights come on. So I got to go there. PJ, I'm going to let you do something which is called it rhymes with witch fit. So, but it starts with a B. So in our final thing here on the show today, I want to unleash you for the last couple minutes to just say whatever you want to say about Jacksonville at 0-4.
Geez, well, what can you say? It seems to me that Pedersen is lost. I don't know who's calling the plays anymore, whether him or Press Taylor is calling the plays. I don't get it. Certainly, we have to know, and the country has to know, that Lawrence is a good quarterback. He's not a bust. So certainly he wasn't going to do it against Urban Meyer. And I thought for sure that he would wake up during Pedersen. I don't know if Pedersen's the answer for Lawrence. Maybe Lawrence isn't the answer for the Jags. I don't want to believe that, but I do believe that that there's going to be some changes made. I know that Mr. Our owner here will not make a change during the season. I think he likes to let it roll. I told you what my feelings were earlier about DB coming here, so. I mean, I think they have to establish themselves, and they have to be competitive, and they have to win. Once you get a win, maybe you can keep going. But with Etienne and all of the weapons he's got on offense and defense playing their hearts out, I just got to look for something more. It's got to come from the coach.
Yeah. I mean, my response to this is don't be surprised if you see Mac Jones at quarterback at some point this season. I look at Trevor Lawrence and, he's making mistakes and doing things that I didn't see being done. There's been times where the offensive line's been okay. Obviously, Travis Etienne Jr. is a threat. Christian Kirk is a good receiver when it comes to getting those possessions down. Trevor is without a safety blanket with Evan Ingram having been injured here in the early part of the season at tight end, who's a really good receiver for them. Brian Thomas Jr., he's stepped up in his rookie season. He's made it into the end zone. We know that Trevor targets him. Defensively, they haven't been able to make stops. If a team has the ball with a few minutes to go and all they need is a field goal, I haven't seen this defense stop anybody, especially including last week. So, I think that Jacksonville holding on for 4 quarters is something we haven't seen yet. I think the game against Buffalo was an embarrassment. I think it was disgusting. I think that when the second string Buffalo Bills are scoring touchdowns on you in the fourth quarter, it's like mercy please in a game like that. But, Jacksonville's got to figure it out. They've made changes in their organization, and they made changes away from the good, kind, hardworking human beings that they are. And when you bring in snakes in your garden, sometimes you get bit. So they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to figure it out quick. I believe in a lot of these guys. I know a lot of these guys. I wish I could be there with those guys, but things out of my control put things where they are. But I would love to be in that locker room to be one of the positive voices, if not the only positive voice that they hear this season. And, I feel for the Moomas and the Robertson Harrises and Trevor Lawrence and Evan Engram and Anton Harrison and Cam Robinson, Andre Sisco, Dewey, and the list goes on at Christian Kirk and on and on and on and on. There's a lot of good guys there. There's a lot of hardworking guys there. There's a lot of really good human beings, and there's a lot of faith-filled guys there. And there's something wrong in the culture. I've seen it before in Jacksonville. I didn't ever want to see it again. I feel like we're seeing it right now, and I pray to God that we find a way to change the culture before the end of the season, or else I think a lot of changes are going to happen that I might not necessarily want to see. So my best to the Jaguars as they move forward. They got to get it right, and you have to remember, that an organization is only as good as the sum of its parts, and how you treat people ultimately deems your success beyond money, power, and prestige. So Jacksonville being Jacksonville is something I would love to see. I haven't seen it yet. I hope I see it soon, and I hope the best for everybody involved, and hopefully some positive changes of hearts there in northern Florida. With that being said, PJ, thank you as always for your time, and I appreciate you. I send you an M team I love. I'm happy you guys are okay after Helene, and I hope you continue to be okay, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
All right,
Bye-bye.
take care. That coming from Papa Joe here, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Our final step aside is coming to you now, and we'll be back right after this to wrap up this broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay with us. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
Gigi Car Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. It is our card shop of choice, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. They got a little bit of everything, folks, and it is so much fun for a person like me to go in there and see it because I just love collecting cards and I'm a big kid. So when you go and you experience this stuff, you can't help but have a good time there. If you've never collected cards before, but you have a favorite team, go in there. Go grab some cards. They're the only card shop that I know of that has every MLB, NBA, and NFL team with their own box. That means that you can walk in there as a Cleveland Cavalier fan in the NBA, a Green Bay Packer fan in the NFL, and a New York Yankee fan in Major League Baseball. And you can find players from your teams, of all those teams. Every MLB, every NBA, and every NFL franchise right there in the store. It's a lot of work that they do to make sure that they can do that for you. And they bring in these boxes, and they bring in these packs, and I can go in on a Tuesday, and then come back on Thursday, and a bunch of stuff's gone, and all this new stuff came in. They have Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. They have graded cards. They have packs. They have boxes. They have singles. They have potential one-of-one cards. They have the mint condition PSA 10 graded cards. They have Kyle McCord cards, Aronde Gadsden cards, and those Kyle McCord cards only keep going up, so you might as well get them now. So much to offer at GG Cards and Breaks. Experience the difference. Shout out to Josh and Anthony and the entire team at GG Cards and Breaks. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being a part of the show, and I want to tell you to have a fantastic day. Papa Joe joining me on Thursdays, and he was under the weather last week, so I'm thankful that he's okay now. I love him dearly. I know that many of you do as well. And I'm so happy to have him here to talk about Major League Baseball, college football, the NFL, and specifically the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora comes to you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. You also find us on internet streaming radio on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they hop into the archives, and you'll find this one in those archives as well. Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. A big time thanks to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, and of course Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, down the road from Pinehurst Golf Courses. So when you're in North Carolina, including everybody that's converging on North Carolina for the ACC tip-off for men's and women's basketball, I behoove you to go out to Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina. Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Servomation, redefining, reimagining, reinvigorating the world of vending. If I had a vending machine from Servomation back in the day, I would have probably actually wanted to utilize what was in that vending machine. They've changed the way I think about vending. The technology is incredible. The things that they can do with water and putting flavored stuff in there. I mean, we were talking about the fact that they have a machine at Servomation. They have a machine that can take a Krispy Kreme donut, and it's sitting in this machine. So it's cooled in the machine, right? So it's cooled so it stays fresh, it stays good. When you order a Krispy Kreme donut, it takes it out of the cooling atmosphere, puts it inside of an oven that's inside a machine, cooks the Krispy Kreme donut, and then puts it in a box and sends the box out with the donut inside of it to you, like you were just handed the donut from a person working at Krispy Kreme. Servomation is incredible, and you can find out more at servomation.com. Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, Chick-fil-A Cicero, GG Cards and Breaks, Avicoli's, Great Lakes Honda City, Brian's Landing, and of course our newest partner, Fire Pit Barbecue and Saloon, my barbecue place of choice in central and upstate New York on 264 New York Route 48 in Fulton, New York, open 7 days a week. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media are the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. You will find your Dolphins every single Wednesday during Dolphin Time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, swimming over here to Wake Up Call weekly. And you also, under promise, over deliver, find the Dolphins even more than that. You can find over 150 broadcasts with the Dolphins that are on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne playlist on our YouTube channel. You can also find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com, and as always, fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find your Bobcats every single month in what we call the Bobcat Buzz, spotlighting the awesome scenario that is the Bobcats. The fact that you can come to this school, get your education. If you got a degree in something else and now you're changing it, if you never went to college, if you went to college but you left early, you can come back to Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse or come there for the first time. And that works eligibility as well. You know, you might be a little bit older. You might be 23, 24 years old. But if you still have eligibility, you have an opportunity to play sports. Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse functions inside of the USCAA, which is outside of the NCAA, and they have more opportunities, unique opportunities. And they bring in people from all over the world, including in our backyard of central and upstate New York. I love hearing their stories. I love being around these people. The coaches, the student athletes, and the administration have been great to me. And that's why the Bobcat Buzz means the world to me. And I implore you to check out the Bobcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You can also find your Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, you can go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And you already know, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Go Bobcats. And in the men's and women's soccer season, incredible work by both teams. And very excited to see what they're going to do next. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats roaring all the time on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time during Bearcat Time weekly, exclusively on Wake Up Call. The Bearcats giving you Moments with Marshall with Gene Marshall, Binghamton University Athletics Director, as well as the Bearcat Break Room with student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories. You can find all of this by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you can find the Binghamton playlist. You can also find your Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com, and as always, go Bearcats. I want to read a couple notes here from Jerry. Appreciate you, Jer. And he said, go Commanders, because he's a Washington fan. He said, you guys are great together, speaking on Papa Joe. Great stuff. Good show. Coming from you, Jerry, holds a lot of weight, and I thank you for that. And I appreciate you very much for waking up with us and spending time with us all throughout the week. And I thank you all for doing that. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. For Papa Joe and myself, Dan Tortora, thank you for watching and listening today and every broadcast. Thank you for your support. Thank you to the awesome Baldwinsville Bees community and the girls' soccer fans, families, student athletes, head coach Kathy Morse, and for Baldwinsville High School in general for the incredible show that I had the opportunity to host this Tuesday at Pizza Man. I look forward to talking with you all soon. God bless you as always. Tonight, Isaac Elford and I will be bringing you another episode of Tortora and Elford as we preview the Syracuse at UNLV game, Syracuse's first road game of the 2024 college football season. First road game for Fran Brown as a head coach as well. And Isaac and I will be bringing you that tonight on all of our same channels on Podbean, Facebook, and YouTube. So we'll see you there then. In the meantime, God bless. No stress. Do your best. Know that nothing is too big to handle when you have God at your side, and you always have God at your side. God bless you all. Have a great day. To everyone in the wake of these storms, my prayers are with you. My well wishes are with you. I pray that you have power. I pray that you have water. I pray that you have shelter, safety. Above all things, I pray that you are alive, surrounded by your loved ones, and that you know that God loves you above everything. Have a great day. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I say that in Jesus' name. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Mets Brewers tonight. Winner take all. I'll be watching that, as well as Thursday Night Football, and hopefully you'll be watching us as we preview Syracuse at UNLV. Stay safe. God bless. We'll talk soon.